Welcome to another episode of a Wild Time Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, pound that like button, and share away. Listen, we have had some awesome guests. I mean, from the MMA world, the horror world, I have been on cloud nine. If you're big into the mixed martial arts scene, if you're an old school diehard fan, check out the Guy Mesger, Fred Eddish, Brad Kohler, and upcoming Jeremy Horn, a man who has fought everyone. We will be talking to him this week. And in the horror world, Mick Strawn, Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, and 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, set designer and special effects guru, and my good buddy, R.A. Mihailov, Leatherface, Part 3, Hatchet 2, License to Drive, you name it, he's done it. But I am extremely pumped tonight because we have a man that has been a bodyguard for rock and rap bands. We have got a man that has done it all. He has been on Monster Garage with Jesse James. He has been on Hannah Montana. And when I say, listen, this man's done it all, there is an ounce of mystery amongst Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We'll call us the family. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Schwag. Hey, I forgot. Pro wrestling personality. Also, Big Schwag himself, Brett Wagner. Big man, how's it going?
Buddy, we're trying to do as best we can out here in lovely California.
Well, you know, it's still pretty out there right now, man. I'm on the far East Coast, as you can tell by this accent. I'm from New York City. No, I'm from Eastern Kentucky. But, you know, Brett, thank you, man. It's crazy. I ran into you. Actually, you've been here, man. You've been at Pikeville at the Harley Day. I ran into you. I've got the sledgehammer. That was when you first titled Lost Leatherface, because I brought the mask up, and my dear friend that passed away, he was my manager in the wrestling world, and he was like, he didn't know who he was coming to see, and I was like, dude, Brett Wagner is going to be right down the street from where we're working. And he said, who? And I said, Brett Wagner. And we got there, and he was a huge Sons of Anarchy fan, and he was like blown away. He's like, dude, you know who that is? I was like, yes. I was like, that's what I was trying to explain to you. And he was tickled to death. But I mean, when I seen you were going to be in Pikeville, I was just pumped. I was like, listen, taking my Leatherface mask, my sledgehammer, and I'm going up there and meeting him. But thanks for being on, man. Tell us what's going on.
Well, yeah, so how we met is I used to go do that the race. They did the races in Pikeville, and that right by the prison behind the movie theater.
Yes.
And then I used to go to Prestonburg. We do some races in Prestonburg. So I've been going up to Eastern Kentucky there to the holler for a good 11, 12 years. And that was because I used to do the drag racing show I hosted called Pastime on Speed. So a couple people up there were nice enough to bring me up. And then I kind of was coming up off and on for 10 years. And I like Pikeville. I like that whole area up there. Allen, Kentucky, Pikeville, Peaburg.
I'm right in between Prestonsburg and Pikeville. I am at the Pike County line, really. I'm in Floyd County. I'm at Harold, which is right dead in the center between Pike County and Pikeville and Prestonsburg. But, man, you know what? I got to thinking, Brett Wagner. And when I started researching you, dude, one thing that I kind of identify, like I was reading all this stuff, and I'm like, dude, I identify with Brett because I believe Brett is the type of dude that lays his head down at night, and when he wakes up, he's got no regrets. Because, number one, everything he set out to do, he did. I mean, you started out, it's like once you get done with something, you're like, I got to tackle this, I got to tackle that. And I was just blown away, man. It's almost like a daggone movie script. You can tell where I'm from. Movie script. Yeah. How did you get involved? What was your first adventure? I guess we'll call it. What was your first adventure?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be an actor as a kid, and I, grew up watching The Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Night Gallery, all that stuff, and Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Phantasm, all the Universal horror movies. So I knew that, as a young kid, I wanted to be an actor, and I got to be about, of course, I was doing sports, playing football, basketball, and and baseball in high school. And I tried it in college for 1 year and realized, I'm just not made for college. And I was working all the time, from a young age, about 17, 18 years old. I was bouncing at clubs doing security in Hollywood. And so I always had a gig, at least to pay my bills. And then at like 20 years old, I got into an acting class. And I said, well, let's see if we can try this acting thing. And the craziest thing is I went to this, it was more like a modeling school, right, where they take you in there. They have an acting class. But John Robert Powers is what it was called. And you pay this money and you get to go do an acting class. It wasn't Hollywood per se, but the lady was like, hey, I have a commercial agent. And so when I was 21, I got a commercial agent, then got into Hollywood and started taking real acting classes. And it took me a long time. I had to, do the bouncing at night and audition during the day, which, either you're back in the day or still now today, either you're a waiter or you're a bouncer, or you're doing something at night to pay the bills so you have your days free to audition. Since COVID, that's changed a little bit. Now all the auditions are done through the computer, like you and me chatting right here. Everything's done self-tape. But, it wasn't easy. It was a struggle. But I started to get a little bit of acting work. I was the new big guy in town. I had a flat top for a long time, no tattoos. And so I would get some military stuff, and I wasn't real heavy back then, so military or clean cut guy or cop or whatnot. But it took me quite a while to be able to start making a living at it. And about 30 years old, I started making a living at it, where I didn't have to work 5-6 nights a week being a bouncer. So
did you get your first role? Was it a TV show or was it a movie?
So that's a good question. My first role, so to get into the Screen Actors Guild, you got to get a thing called Taft-Hartley. So I got Taft-Hartley in my first, I almost quit a year into trying to be an actor. I didn't get I never booked anything. So I was like, I'm done with this. I'll just go do bodyguard work. And I was working with Jane's Addiction and Guns N' Roses and all this stuff. And I just figured, well, I'll just do this and make my $75 cash a night at the local bar. And I'll just be tickled pink and I'll be happy. But I got a gig playing some football. A fan eating chips in a Tostitos commercial. And that got me into the union. And I still got cut out of the commercial. But it was fine. It got me into the union. And there we go. I started getting some little acting gigs. I always play a mechanic number 1, thug number 2. And those are kind of the stuff that you get. But you're getting paid. You get to work there on the set. And I will tell you, my breakthrough came, I was 30 years old, and I was having like a midlife crisis. And one of those things, like we said, I like to try everything. So I was such a big pro wrestling fan. And a friend of mine who was an actor as well, named Rick Drazen, who was also a pro wrestler. I said, Rick, I really want to get into this business. I said, why don't you let me manage you? Because he was wrestling up until his later years before he passed. He was, 55-year-old guy wrestling out there. And I went into this company called Ultimate Pro Wrestling, and Rick said, hey, this guy's my manager. And we went in there, and I did my first match, and I was like, well, this is great. And I said, look, I don't need to get paid for this, for this small company. I said, I'm the voice of Monster Garage right now, a TV show with Jesse James, and I make my own money, and I'm fine. But I really love this. And, I did that for 5 years. I think I had 2 wrestling matches, and I realized it's not for an out of shape middle-aged guy. But I was the Bobby the Brain Heenan kind of guy, and I did color commentary, and it improved my acting so much that, because you're out there, if you have to make 20 people in a bingo hall boo you or cheer you, or 15,000 people in the Shark Tank up in San Jose, when I did a dark match with a couple guys, and you got to get these people to boo you. So 15,000 people, 100 people, if you can get them to do that, it's not that big a deal when you go in for a room for an audition. There's 4 or 5 people there. You feel the confidence that I just got 15,000 people to throw stuff at me. What are these 5 people going to do? So my acting got better. It took off. I started feeling more comfortable. And about 30 years old, I started getting more acting gigs, and better ones. And That was an eye-opening experience.
So pro wrestling, man. I got started when I was 30 years old, and like you said, it really does. It makes you. I was always an over the top personality myself, so I had no problem with going out, getting over with the fans, and even at intermission, I felt like going out and conversing with them, signing autographs, and like I was telling RA, I was the Human Horror Movie. That was my character. Before every match, I would nobody knew who I would come out as. Sometimes I'd come out as Jason for my entrance, sometimes Leatherface, sometimes Michael. So that was kind of my thing. The fans would be like, I wonder who Adam's going to be tonight. It kind of carried over. So what I was telling RA, I was like, you don't make much money as a professional wrestler.
Not at all.
So to make a little gas money to get home on, or to grab a Little Caesar's pizza, I come up with an idea. Photo ops are a big deal, right now, because you're really kicking hind end doing the Lost Leatherface thing. I love what you're doing right now. It's unique. I love it. So I was thinking conventions, horror movies. I go to them all the time. I'm like, maybe at intermission, I can do a photo op where I'm the Human Horror Movie, and I can be in costume, bring a kid in. It's, for $1. Let them get in the ring. Every kid wants to get in a wrestling ring. Get them in. Let them hold a chainsaw or a machete and take a picture of Leatherface or Jason holding the title. They were lined up, dude. It just took off. And you got to think of things, man, to get over. And
listen, that's the whole wrestling, especially on the indie circuit. We Ultimate Pro Wrestling was a farm league, was like single A for the WWE. So we would get guys. We would get guys in there that were, may have been on the indie circuit, but they were either back then. That's when they wanted monsters. So, we had guys 6'7", 6'8". We had a 7-footer. They wanted these large guys and giant guys. So we were getting these guys, and we were doing pretty good shows. I had the Schwag Army. I had my guys with me, and I got to, I worked with Samoa Joe, John Cena. I got to work with Triple H, because they would send guys down sometime if they were in town.
That's
I did some work with, so I got to work with a lot of guys. My problem was at 6'5", 330 pounds, the WWF back then thought you're bigger than the wrestlers. I'm like, well, so what? I go down, old lady can hit me, and I take a dive. I take a nice bump. So, but it was a great experience. We still watch it. My wife's watching it right now, watching a little WWE on TV, and we love AEW. I got a lot of friends that, I started with in the business or helped start in the business. And they're, God bless them, 25 years later, are still wrestling. If anybody's ever seen The Wrestler and they don't understand what guys that are still in this business, that are 50 or 60 years old, that still get in the ring, because they didn't save you never save your money, right? These guys are, Jake the Snake Roberts is the prime example, right? God bless him. He's doing better now.
Yeah.
But but these guys never saved their money. Back in the heydays in the 80s, when guys are making $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a week, that's a lot of money.
I spoke to Jake about 2 weeks ago. Him and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Barry Windham, they were up here at a convention. And like you said, Jake looks better physically, but he's got some lung problems, and he had to have oxygen throughout the show. But you brought up The Wrestler. Interesting here, dude. So you're familiar with Ricky Morton, right, from Rock and Roll Express?
Of course.
Okay, so I worked a show with Ricky. First time I ever met Ricky, I had the Hellraiser pinhead mask on, and he walks backstage, and he jumps back and says, "Brother, you ain't going to work in that, are you?" And, he was joking, and I was just starstruck, and I'm like, "No, man, I wear it out." And he's like, "Well, I was worried about grabbing a headlock on you." And it was, dude, I'm not even joking. It was like Mickey Rourke talking. And it was so like the similarities between Ricky Morton and Mickey Rourke. And I don't know if Mickey Rourke studied Ricky Morton or not, but it was so, it gives me goosebumps right now just thinking about the similarities and just how the young guy comes in the back, talks to Mickey Rourke and shows him respect. It was that moment. And like you said, man, the guys, they partied hard. They didn't save their money, and now they're still in there taking bumps at 70 years old, dude. And if you've not been in a wrestling ring, it is, it's terrible. I've boxed and did MMA. I've got hurt 10 times more professional wrestling than I ever did in my shoot fights,
Yeah, people don't really understand it, that it's one of the hardest gigs in the world to do, right? I mean, when I was 330 pounds, it was a lot easier for me to take a bump back then because your weight kind of spreads out and everything. But we went to a local indie wrestling thing a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night, and I get all excited and like, man, maybe I could do a run in or something, or go through a table. And I'm like, I'm 55 years old and I don't want to go through a table anymore. I mean, it'd be fun until I got to get up. But yeah, it's a rough business. Guys are more smart nowadays. Yeah. Obviously, it's a business to a lot of these guys. Of course, they love wrestling. Samoa Joe's a very good friend of mine, and I know he loves the business. A lot of guys will, and not Joe, but a lot of these guys will stay on too long.
Yeah.
That shouldn't. Hulk Hogan is one of those things. He kept going to company and bringing all his buddies, and which, it's a great thing, but you're giving these young guys don't get a chance then to show their wares, and it's same with acting, right? You get guys that were stars in the 70s and 80s and TV
don't want
shows.
To lose their spot.
And they don't want to lose their spot. So I'll go in for an acting gig, which maybe is 4 or 5 lines, and I look over and I'm like, that guy made millions of dollars in the 80s. What is he doing in here for 4 or 5 lines? But they don't want to lose their spot, That's if people don't understand wrestling lingo, that's exactly what it is. You don't want to lose your spot. And guys will stab you in the back, will talk crap about you for $40 when you have to go spend $150 just to get there, to make $40. And so there's wonderful aspects to pro wrestling, and then there's that stuff that you just go, if it means that much to you, man, go take the gig. It's not that big a deal for me, but we still love it. We support it. We love the guys that are in the pros and the big time, and we also love watching the indies. So
the guy, and what's crazy, Brad, is the people that are the guys that are my biggest influences, dude, are all passed away. Ravishing Rick Rude's the reason I got into professional wrestling. Rude was my guy. And Brian Pillman, the Loose Cannon, Bruiser Brody, those guys, Scott Hall. And people think, man, they're dying young. Rude died at 40. The reason, those guys back in the day, they had to rely on painkillers because they didn't have guaranteed contracts. They were trying to medicate. It wasn't like, a lot of them were getting high for the fun of it, but some of them were just trying to work.
Listen, Soma, painkillers and muscle relaxers. I won't go into detail. A couple guys that, I got to work with that were very famous wrestlers, and, they give you a call up, hey, Schwag, we're in LA, and I couldn't, talk to them for 10 minutes. Can't understand them at all, but just kept saying, yeah. Okay, where are you? And I'll come get you. But that's back in the day. These guys, they're not nowadays they fly everywhere, right? Back in those days, guys knew where they had to be, and they might be driving across 3 different states in a week, wrestling 3 or 4 times, sharing hotel rooms with 3 or 4. Who wants to, share a hotel room with a bunch of smelly wrestlers? And that, right? I want my own place. But yeah, painkillers were a big deal. Even when 2000, I'm trying to think, so 25 years ago, even still then, painkillers are a big deal because guys go out and work, and then they got to go work the next 2 days later, and they're in pain, and it's an unfortunate thing now. But now a lot of that has gone away, and
the
better Medicare and better ways to deal with pain and everything. And
well, I'll tell you what, Schwag, since we don't want to get depressed on it. We don't want to eat. So let's talk a little bit about your daggone TV career, because man, you've been on Buffy, Angel, NYPD Blue. I'm just Hannah Montana, Drake and Josh. You've been on every realm of the genre. Sons of Anarchy. Cannot forget that. That's one of the biggest shows of the last 20 years. And you were on there. Dude, do you get calls randomly like, hey, listen, we want you on this show that's big at the time?
Oh God, I wish. So it's a thing, the TV show we'll send out a list of what they're looking for the next episode. That list goes to a casting director who puts it out over, there's a couple of websites. Your agents get that and go, okay, they're looking for this. Oh, they're looking for a big redneck white guy with tattoos. And then they send in your picture and your resume, and those people go, oh, we know Brett. Okay, send them in. But they may do that with 30 to 50 guys. So I got to go up against the same guys. For years, I'd go up against the same guys, and just be who's going to book it this week. And, I'd go up against R.A. Mihailov, our mutual friend, all the time for stuff. And, that's the way it was. I was working big nightclubs with R.A. Mihailov, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And, who would have thought of, let me see. So 20 years later from working knowing him at 19 years old, that then he was the first guy I called when I got cast as Leatherface for the 2003 remake.
Yeah.
First guy I called. I said, that they're casting for Leatherface. He goes, I know, I wish I could get in there. I said, I know who they cast. And he goes, who? And I said, me. And he was like, what? He was so excited. And then, so people don't know, I got cast as Leatherface, and
that's what I wanted to go straight into that, because that's one of the biggest mysteries in horror. Because when Chainsaw, let's just shoot straight. Let's get into it. Lost Leatherface, Brett Wagner. I mean, and the thing that the Leatherfaces that I've talked to, there's an ounce of sadness and some regret in some of these guys. Like I talked to R.A. the other day, man, and he was just down about the latest Texas Chainsaw because the age, all the things added up. And like we could, even me, I made a social media post. I was like, why don't they get R.A. Mihailov? He's the age for Leatherface, this recent. He's been it before. He's done it justice. He's up there with Gunner. Gunner is up here. Gunner laid the foundation. And I love Dan Yeager. I think Dan done a wonderful job. He paid tribute to Gunner, but I thought that R.A., and you could tell R.A. is such he's a professional wrestler. You can tell just the way that Leatherface was, but he was just, man, it sucked because he really should have had that role. And then it was unfortunate what happened with you. I mean, you got injured, and it was just
I got heat stroke. We kept I really only filmed. I was there for a week, but I only filmed for like a couple days. And first day was really nothing, shots of me walking around. And then the first day of real shooting is that my kill in the movie. I hit the guy at the sledgehammer and start dragging him, but we kept dragging him and dragging him and dragging him. And I'm like going, I didn't have a cool suit, which is something you can put underneath, and I think you plug it in and it cools the clothing underneath. And
like we're
in Austin, and believe me. Yes, so that's exactly what it is that you want when he's in here. And they didn't think I was big enough at 350 pounds, so I had so many layers on, and then I could just feel it. I kept dragging him. Let's do it again. And I could feel myself about and I think I hit the floor real quick. I think I went down to my knees, and I said, look, I got to get this mask off. So I went outside, and I knew what it was. I got a heat stroke, but I drank like 7 Gatorades, right, in 30 minutes. They took a break, and they said, are you ready to go? I said, yeah, I feel good. But when you get heat stroke or you're dehydrated, all my muscles in my back went like that. They just seized up, and I remember standing up going, oh, man. Now, I finished the scene. There's only 2 guys, which I'm proud of, that have ever slammed that door shut. One was the great one himself, Mr. Gunnar Hansen, and then there was me. But I knew we finished that day. I went to the hospital that night. I had a little bit of a reprieve because Jessica Biel, I think, tweaked her leg or her knee or something, and they had a day or 2 down from shooting. But I kept calling every day going, I called the transpo guy. I said, you pick anybody up at the airport? And he goes, no. Second day, did you pick anybody up at the airport? And he said, no. Third day, I said, did you pick anybody up? He goes, picked up this big kind of large, buff, loud guy. And I knew right away. I was like, oh. And I knew who it was too, right? So I knew that it would be Andrew Minarski because he worked with Michael Bay on Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And which, I was bummed, but at the time I was like, well, at least it's a guy I know, I consider a friend, because, Andrew was trying to do the pro wrestling thing as well at the time with Ultimate Pro Wrestling. And He did a tremendous job in the movie. But yeah, a lot of people didn't put me in the IMDb credits. They didn't talk about it. So a lot of people just think that, even Gunnar Hansen, when I went to meet him, Dan Yeager was signing autographs at a thing, Monster Palooza, a couple years ago in LA. And I went in and I said, I brought a couple of Funko Pops and I said, Mr. Hansen, would you sign these for me? He goes, oh, I'd love to sign them. I said, we have something in common. And he was like, what do we have in common? I said, well, I played Leatherface for the first kill in the 2003 remake. And he's looking at me and he said, oh, you did? I said, did you slam the door and the whole thing? I said, yeah, that was me. And he was like, man, I thought that was Andrew and the whole thing. I said, no, that was me. So we sat down, wouldn't charge me to sign the things. I said, let me pay you. He goes, no way. And I even got my agent at the time. I said, I was, going in for a bigger acting agency, and I knew that they repped Gunnar. So when I went in, I was like, hey, by the way, I said, Gunnar Hansen. He goes, yeah, it's my client. I said, well, we have something in common. And he goes, what? You played Leatherface too? And so he signed me. So I told Gunnar that, and he was he was a great guy. So gracious. Mm-hmm. But, so yeah, a lot of people don't know. And I didn't push the matter for years up until the last couple of years about being, the guy that no one knew that was actually Leatherface. And, would I have loved to have finished the movie? Of course. Yeah. Would I have loved to have done the second one? Of course. But at least in the history of things, if you don't know, if you ever get that trivia question and you start counting the Leatherfaces, you might get it wrong if you don't know that there was another guy that played Leatherface at least for 27 seconds.
Well,
in the 2003 remake.
That whole intro was you, dude. I mean,
yeah.
I was thinking, like, when I was putting it all together, I was starting to wonder, maybe you could help me out on this. I think Andrew's first scene when he's there may be when Jessica Biel turns around and the door opens and he's got the chainsaw. I think that may be the first time he's seen, because
he might be. I haven't seen the movie in so long. I couldn't tell you. I watched snippets of it. Obviously, when I'm trying to make appearances, I'll send them the 27 seconds that I'm in and everything else. It seems longer because it's nice action packed, but
it is.
I do the sledgehammer, I drag him, and then I slam the door shut, and then the rest is.
Well, dude, if you had to pick 27 seconds of the movie to act out, that's the perfect 27 seconds.
Wasn't bad, man. Listen, I loved it. I mean, at least I'm writing a book a little bit. I start jotting down notes here and there, and that'd probably be the title of my book will be Leatherface for a week. So,
hey, let me ask you something. Did you ever hear the rumor that Dolph Lundgren was going to play Leatherface?
I mean, Andrew says that. I have no idea. I have no idea what the whole deal was. All I know is I went in and auditioned for the role. I saw that they were casting. It's a great story, but I saw that they were looking for a local hire in Texas, which means they would have got some bouncer out there
or football player.
They would have got some ex wrestler. They would have got some ex pro football player to play the part. And I saw a little thing that said TCM at a commercial audition I was at, and I'm like, what are they doing? I called my commercial agents. Could you see if that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And if they haven't booked Leatherface yet, could I come in and read? So they were like, yeah. He calls and she goes, she'll put you on tape tomorrow if you want to come in. So I went to Salvation Army. I bought the biggest, ugliest suit I could find, and I was 350 pounds, so it didn't fit me real well, which was great. I went in for the audition. They said, what do you want to do? I said, just roll the tape. And I said, Michael Bay, I said, you don't want to hire just some bouncer security guard guy in Texas. I mean, Leatherface was a big, meaty son of a bitch, Excuse my cursing if we get in trouble.
You're fine, dude.
But I said, did you just going to hire someone that I said, I love this role. I love the character. I said, don't waste it on some security guard in Texas, And then I picked up, there was a girl running the camera, and I picked her up and threw her over my shoulder, and she screamed a little bit for a second. I said, I'll see you in Texas. And then she goes, is that it? I said, that's it. Now, that's what you call taking a chance, right? Because what are you going to do? What are you going to do, right? I just took a chance, and if
you rolled the
next
dice,
day, the casting director called me the next day and said, Michael Bay thought you were funny, and you got the gig. And I was like, what? And I was like, holy crap, that doesn't happen very often.
after that, and that's a hard hit because you would, like you said, you would like to have finished that movie. But something that I found like almost redeeming was how the Crazies worked out for you, man. You had a killer role in that, and not only that, you basically got your big mug on the Rolling Stone magazine of horror. I mean, that is so cool, dude. How did that go? There it is. That's it. That's it right there. Yes. Yes.
Cover of Fangoria.
Man, that is an accomplishment. I mean, that is so cool.
You listen, that's the biggest deal in the world when you're, but now you got to do it again, right? So you've done it once. I got my buddies, Derek Mears, and some of these guys who have played, Jason and Michael Myers, who've been on numerous covers of Fangoria. And like, I did it once. And listen, I'm tickled pink.
Yeah.
Would I like to do it again? Yes. Would I, but
dude, you never know what, I mean, the way you operate, I mean, tomorrow you may wake up and do something so totally, I mean, off the wall that you may end up back on there, because that's one thing I admire about you, dude, is you take chances, just like the audition for Leatherface. You laid it on the line and it paid off. And, anything you have an interest on, it's like myself, man. And my dad always said, he says, Adam, one thing about you, buddy, he said, you do life your way. He said, whatever you do, you don't care what people think. If you want a professional wrestler or box or fight.
Well, we're entertainers, right? So you got to look at it. Someone was asking me, well, you're an actor. I said, well, I'm an entertainer. I said, if I was just an actor, because if you're going to be in this world, whether it's pro wrestling and fighting and all this stuff, doing podcasts, being an actor, it's all entertainment, but you got to do everything because you never know when something's going to hit. You never know. You throw 100 things up on the wall and hopefully a couple of them stick. So every couple of years I get, if I get bored or something, maybe I'm not getting a lot of acting work, I'll try to figure out how to do radio or, I've been a spokesman for Bad Boy Mowers in Batesville, Arkansas for 20 years. I took a chance on these guys and said, hey, listen, I'm the voice for the bad boy on the West Coast, Jesse James, on a TV show on Discovery. I know you guys are going to run commercials eventually, so I said, hire me. And I kept bugging him for years. And finally the guy said, all right, what do you want to do? I said, well, let's pay me this and I'll start doing, voiceovers for you. And 20 years later, I'm still doing it, so I got blessed that way. So you got to figure out how to make a living, and I married smart. So my wife does a good job. She does payroll for the movie business. So I got very lucky that way.
Dee Dee you all are a good couple. I keep up with you, man. You got a beautiful wife. You're ruggedly handsome. So you guys are the ultimate power couple. God bless you for that, dude. And she's watching NXT. My wife's probably in there right now reading the book.
Quick. She heard the power couple and she gave it a little chuckle. I'm realizing I'm starting to look more like RA as I get older. I don't know what's going on.
That ain't a bad thing, because if you see his scene in Pumpkinhead 2 with Leanna Quigley, then that goes to show you right there they like a good burly, rugged man.
Yeah, he's look at RA's one of the class acts. I've known him since I was 19 years old. So, and I'm 50, almost 55. So very blessed. That brings,
it's funny. You brought RA up, a mutual buddy of ours, and he told me to ask you if you remembered riding that motorcycle down Sunset Boulevard for his show, Hog Wild. He said, make sure you tell that story.
I do remember. So RA, listen, we all, if you're not acting, you want to do stuff. And he said, hey, listen, I want to do a TV show. And, RA's a blue collar biker guy. And he said, look, we're going to do this show called Hog Wild. And I want you to be one of the hosts. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, we were Hog Wild. Should have caught on. It was a great concept, great deal. And that could have been on for 10 or 20 years. It still could be on if we were smart. Yeah, riding in Hollywood's tough. Riding a bike in Hollywood where it's crowded and people don't care about you is tough. But yeah, good friend of mine, great guy. Listen, I wish I could have. I've met almost all the people that played Leatherface and stuff like that, and other guys in other horror movies. Michael Bailey Smith, who's in The Hills Have Eyes and a couple other things.
He's a big dude.
Real big dude. Yeah. Used to play pro football, and now he lives out in Texas, and both his kids are playing college football, and he's a very, very smart guy and kind of a IT guy. He's gotten me some gigs hosting some stuff for doing some podcasts for people, and pimping out some what do you call it, smart home products and stuff. And so don't let this fool you. I can trim this up, and I can pitch smart home products and stuff. So
Well, Brett, I'm a believer that good things happen to good people, man. I think I'm a real firm believer in that. I think the Lord blesses people that do good. I think if you've got a good heart, and obviously you've got a lot of friends. I mean, you're a talented dude. People look out for people like that, man. I mean,
I believe in karma, right? I mean, my dad, one of the, it's all those little funny things that your dad used to say. If you don't got something nice to say about something, somebody don't say anything. Do it right the first time. You don't have to do it again. Save your money. Which, let me tell you something. That is one of those things that I wish I would have listened to my dad a lot better and saved my money over the years. But you just got to keep plugging away, and you figure out how to pay the bills and see what, every couple of years something will fall in my lap. I mean, you got to be prepared for this as an actor, as an entertainer, whatever. I know if I called you tomorrow, I said, hey, they want us to go host a show about women's volleyball. Do we know anything about women's volleyball? Maybe not.
We'd find out real fast.
Yeah, but we would figure it out because give me the opportunity. Let's go do it. I never knew anything about drag racing except I loved it. And an opportunity came up to host this show for Speed Channel called Pastime. And I went and did it. And I did that for 6 years, 160 episodes. So you learn quick. And, so you never say no to nothing unless it's absolutely maybe taking a bump in the ring now at this age. That's
even though you want to real bad.
Of course. I miss that stuff. You missed it. It's camaraderie, it's the locker room and
the boys
getting people to boo you, getting people to cheer you. That's the stuff you miss. Taking pictures with folks, which is a great thing. Now this weekend I'm going to Salt Lake City, Utah for a big haunt. It's called Fear Factory. 6 buildings, 2 underground passages. It's an old concrete mixing place, and they've had over the years 11 confirmed deaths there. Not during the haunt, but when the place was open. So I got the next 7 weekends. I'm gone. I'm filming a couple horror movies. One in
The Grind. You want to talk about that?
Filming? Tennessee, The Grind. Yeah, I'm filming The Grind in Tennessee, and I'm doing one called The Evil 3 in Chicago, and then Iron Horse Mud Ranch, Mud Bog, Monster Trucks, Bad Boy Mowers, Dealers Meeting, Fear Factory, Haunted Pyramids in North Carolina, another haunt. And then Halloween, I'll be in Ontario, or Niagara Falls, Canada, for Frightmare in the Falls, which is a huge, 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 horror convention. So,
well, let me ask you something. That brings up. I ain't got many more questions. So the last question before we do Fast Facts with Big Schwag will be: what does the horror genre mean to you?
I mean, it's my youth, right? That's what keeps me. My wife loves it as well. So we get to look around and try to find new movies and new stuff, and we're fans of the genre. I'm fans of, for the last couple of years, South Korea, they've been putting out these amazing movies. And then you try to see who's going to be next, what country, what state, what director. I just love it. It makes me feel young. I love to get out there. I love to be scared, or I love to see something different that I've never seen before. So, and then I love still meeting a lot of these guys. I got to do a movie called John Dies at the End, which was directed by Don Coscarelli from Phantasm, yes. Beastmaster, Bubba Hotep. So, I mean, that was my I think it was 78 was Phantasm. And I'm like, I was 11 years old. That car, the spear, and
the music.
Here I am working with a guy that was the music. Come on. Yeah. Here I am working with a guy that's one of my heroes, and I was just tickled pink. So that's what it means to me. It's keeps me young. It's like when I watch wrestling, I get that urge. I want to go do something. I want to go be in this next big horror movie. I want to jump into the ring and hit someone with a chair.
Dude, you just hit the nail on the head. I feel 100% what you just said. The youth of it, the youth of horror, the youth of being scared or just seeing some different haunted house, going to these haunts, man, it's just, you hit the nail on the head. If you're a lover of horror and scary things, it keeps you young. It keeps that blood pumping and the adrenaline going. I mean.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so Big Schwag, got a few questions for you before we get out of here, man. And like I said, thank you so much for joining me. You just laid out what a schedule you've got ahead. So giving me a few minutes, hey, I appreciate it, dude.
My pleasure, buddy.
First thing, and I know the answer to this, but everybody else don't. What's your favorite horror movie of all time?
Ooh. Dawn of the Dead, 1978.
All right, I knew that. I found that out today. All right, your favorite band, and is the hat any indication of that?
No, I love these guys, though. Favorite band, that's a tough one, but maybe I'll go Sabbath with both, Ozzy and Dio.
Dio.
And I might throw in a little Motorhead there.
Oh man, that's some good
Beside
stuff.
a Motorhead.
Love Motorhead. I was introducing some of the kids that come and worked out the other day. Ace of Spades come on one of the channels, and they're like, "Is that Triple H's music?" And I'm like, "No, but that's the people that sung it."
That's the people that did it for him, yeah.
Favorite boxer or mixed martial artist?
Ooh. My wife just was like, because we love...
Hey, tell Dee Dee she's more than welcome to get in on these questions. We'd love to know about her, too.
Come over, sweetie. Come over here for a second. She's like, I don't have the face on.
Oh, I got it. Tell her, no problem.
Oh, she loves Amanda Nunez.
The Lioness.
So yeah, but now I'm very good friends with Randy Couture. So
my hero, dude.
I've always been a fan of his, how he carried himself in the ring, and he's a class act. And like I tell you what, I had a side note. I had an audition one time to be a high school wrestling coach, and I called him. I said, Randy, and he got on like we were doing. We FaceTime, and I said, give me some stuff because I got to pretend I'm a high school wrestling coach. And he sat there for 20 minutes with me. He said, all right, say this, do this, So yeah, Randy Couture I'm a big fan.
Mine too. Randy, dude, listen, he's the reason that I say that about everything, but he's my main inspiration for getting into mixed martial arts. He, like you said, that was my thing. The same exact words, the way he carried himself, being in his early 40s to mid 40s, competing at that high level, showing people that, just because you got some age on you, times are different now. 50-year-olds aren't the 50-year-olds they were in the 80s and 90s. I mean, people take care of your body. I mean, things change. And I met Randy up at the Arnold Classic and brought a pair of the HCK red trunks he used to wear. I ordered them, had him sign them, and I've got it down in my basement in a shadow box with our pictures together.
So here's the thing with Randy. I remember when we went to see him fight Vitor Belfort, and I'm like, oh, man, Vitor's, and I was nervous. I thought Vitor was going to kill him because Vitor was young, had the hands of stone, and he was so fast. And Randy dirty boxed him in there, and eventually I was like, "Oh my god!" And he took him out, and I was like, "Wow!"
Was that the first fight, or was that their third fight?
No, first fight. I think he got cut.
That was their second fight.
I think it happened real quick.
Oh, that's the second fight. So way back. They fought way back, dude. Like their first fight was like UFC 14 or something, and dirty boxed him. Dirty boxed him the same way.
So. Randy's first fight was versus a guy I used to do bodyguard work, Tony
Holm.
Borga. And I always I said, damn, Randy, you choked my buddy out in 92 seconds, took him out of the thing. And he goes, well, And I was like, and you know how big Ludwig was, 6'5.5".
He was a monster.
330 pounds, a strong man. And we used to do bodyguard work together for some rap bands. And I would always go, I'm just going to hang out with Tony over here because he was so big that no one would mess with us, But, and I love kickboxing too. So, we love K1. We used to love watching K1. That was our jam, So I love I don't mind guys wrestling on the ground and jujitsu and all that, but I love the stand-up game. So K1, 3 rounds, guys were just killing each other,
Ernesto
with the kicks and the punches.
I mean, there was some
Ernesto Hoots, So Bob Sapp, right? So I've met Bob Sapp a couple times, and Ernesto, who still was a bad man, but Bob Sapp somehow beat him twice.
Man, that's nuts to think about. And you know, Bob Sapp, if you ever watched that Crow Cop fight, I mean, Crow Cop had him in tears. I mean, he hit him right in the eye socket. I mean, it was a.
There's another bad man right there. Krokoff took a lot of people's. He took a lot of, snatched a lot of souls away from people with that left kick. And
Yeah, Brett, he said right leg, hospital, left leg, cemetery. That was his quote. Yeah. All right, so your favorite food. I'm imagining you loving a big cheeseburger, but go ahead, tell me what you
What do you think my favorite food is, sweetie? Yeah, she said cheeseburger. You know, I love cheeseburger.
I do too, man. I mean, I'm finding out I'm more like Brett Wagner than I am anybody.
I love artichokes. I mean, I just love a good artichoke. So, yeah, but cheeseburger is always going to do you good.
All right, walkout song, which would that be what we played just a minute ago?
I go through phases, right? So I could do I mean, I love jazz as well, right? So I could do some funky jazz, but I'm into Municipal Waste right now and the Obsessed and Obituary. Some of this stuff I listen to at night when I can't sleep. I come out here and I will sit and listen to this stuff, and that's what I'm into right now. You know, yeah, maybe some. Yeah, that's what's on the. Or in Old Entombed. That's some other stuff I like to listen to because I've been going to the gym a lot. So I've been averaging, 4 days a week at the gym. You don't want to talk to people. So,
dude, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm getting my wind up. I'm trying. I noticed that in fact, when we'll watch this back again, I'll see myself getting some wind.
Hey, listen, you're not blowing up, my man. You're not blowing up. You went through this like a champ. All right, speaking of, who would be your favorite wrestler of all time?
Wow. That's a good question. And I've met a lot of my heroes, right? The wrestling. I've done some stuff with Ric Flair. The Road Warriors. Hawk was a good friend of mine. Got to work with DDP. Took a diamond cutter from DDP. It's definitely going to be someone older. So, Dusty Rhodes was great, but I'd probably go with the Road Warriors.
Oh man, you cannot go wrong with Hawk or Animal, dude, or Precious Paul. He was an awesome manager with those guys.
Great manager.
Yep. All right, so the last question I've got for you.
I'll go Road Warriors with the side of Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe's the most underrated worker in the past 15 years, dude.
Absolutely.
Tough guy.
Came up through the Indies, right? Didn't get all those. He was at UPW, but ROH, Impact Wrestling, all the independents, Japan, worked his way up. Always was number one in the PWI. It was always PWI, right? PWI, their rankings, and for years it was Samoa Joe, 1 or 2, and then I think Triple H finally said, "All right, Joe, let's give you a shot. Come on over." And I think he's about to. So Joe's been wrestling a long time. He's a very funny guy. People do not realize that we did a radio show together called Wrestling 101. He was my co-host. John Cena used to answer the phones for us, right? I mean, I had all these guys, and it was so great. Samoa Joe's so funny and so quick on his feet that you watch, he's going to be a big actor when he hangs up the boots.
He's got charisma, you can tell. Just a natural charisma, the way he carries himself.
But people don't even get to see. They see a portion of that. They don't. I'm telling you. He is one of the funniest guys in the world, and he's going to be a big deal.
Well, I hope you're right, man. I'm rooting for him. And the final question I got, and my game plan is to ask each Leatherface. I just got RA. He already confirmed this one. It's a pretty cool question. So you can pick 4 family members to go around your Leatherface. The whole franchise, if you had to pick your all-star family. Now, R.A. went Bill Mosley, Chop Top, obviously. Ed Neal as the hitchhiker. And he said John Dugan he said he didn't know if he would want him to be Grandpa or a different character. And Jennifer Banco, who was his little girl in part 3. So he had basically the twin brothers and Grandpa and his daughter. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, gosh, man, I definitely would take Bill Mosley. What a great guy. What a nice guy. If you ever get to meet him, he's a sweetheart of a man. I'm trying to think of what Leatherface with RA. What's the actor's name?
He had Viggo Mortensen.
Vigo.
Joe,
I would take the Vigo's
loved
tremendous
Vigo's
in that.
character, man, in that text.
And then if you even go back, if you want to go to the crazy Leatherface, where you had all right, all right, all right. I mean, he was
my world. Matthew McConaughey, Vilmer, gotta
Matthew
have him.
McConaughey was nuts. I
Yes.
mean, Vigo, Matthew McConaughey, give me some Bill Moseley. If you put all those three together,
Do a side of Renee Zellweger.
and then give me a side of Renee Zellweger. My wife is saying, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I would do that. Those guys, I don't think Matthew McConaughey likes to talk about it. I don't think people ask him, or they don't ask Vigo about it. But I mean, listen, man, those guys they were in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They were part of the family, and that'd be the first question I'd ask them. All right, come on, tell me a little bit about it. But yeah, and if I could pick Dan Yeager.
No, this is all you, dude. That was all you. This was
I could pick those
the
guys
Lost
to
Leatherface's family.
That would be awesome. We could be a band of brothers, the Sawyer brothers. But yeah, that would be good.
Awesome.
I think that would Bill Moseley and those guys, Vigo and McConaughey. I think that would be.
There would be so much testosterone in that family, man. I could
My
see.
God, women would have to watch out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Brett, man, thank you so much. Honestly, man. I mean, I found out so much about you. We're a lot alike. I mean, heck, I'm just a cool dude, and I hope great things keep happening for you, because I think they will. Heck, you'll be a 150-year-old dude, and you'll still be chasing something.
You got that right. No, I appreciate it, buddy, and much congratulations on all you keep doing your thing, and we'll get together sometime soon enough and do something.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what. Let's me, you, and RA do in the near future, later on down the road after the Halloween season, because you guys are busy. Me, you, and RA should get on here and do some sort of triple video one night or something.
I'd love to.
Okay. Well, Brett, you tell Dee Dee to hang in there, and you take care of my man, and enjoy yourself next few weeks, because it sounds like you've got it.
Hey, have a good Halloween.
Hey, don't you worry. I'll post pictures.
All right, buddy.
Hey, take it easy, bud.
All right, bro.